Good morning, boys. Welcome to talkSPORT's hub in the centre of Istanbul. We are right in the middle of where the majority of the Manchester City fans have been arriving, will be arriving between now and Saturday. And that huge Champions League final, City's date with destiny, live on talkSPORT on Saturday evening. I'm overlooking the Bosphorus River to my right. We're on a rooftop of our hotel overlooking the centre of Istanbul. We're about an hour west from where the final itself will take place, but the anticipation really is starting to build now.
What about, so many City fans, many Italians about?
Yeah, we've seen plenty of Inter Milan fans as well, because as much as this is a huge occasion for City, it is for Inter. They're looking to complete the double, having won the Italian Cup. They came from behind to beat Fiorentina in that final. So just hearing Andy Brassel there, they can't be taken lightly, Inter Milan. City are heavy favourites. Some people are suggesting that they're the biggest favourites in the history of Champions League finals. But this is an Inter side who beat Milan, their City rivals, in the semi-finals, beat them quite comfortably. And they've won 11 of their last 12 matches, just the one defeat in that time against the Serie A champions Napoli. So as important as it is for City to get their hands on the European Cup, Inter want to win it for the fourth time as well.
Alex, when did the teams arrive? Has Man City been there a few days, or how has Pep Guardiola approached this massive game? Are they going to get there early, or they're just going to get there the day before the game? Do you know what the situation is?
They spent the majority of the week at their training campus. talkSPORT were down there to get interviews early this week. We spoke to the likes of Kyle Walker and Kevin De Bruyne, both very relaxed. Kevin De Bruyne actually playing down talk of the treble and saying it's about winning the Champions League, not necessarily completing that trilogy of trophies. They're going to get their first look at the stadium this afternoon. We're going to be at the press conference. We're going to speak to Pep Guardiola and to one of the Manchester City players. But I was in the tunnel at Wembley last week, Al, and what struck me was just how relaxed the City players are. Kyle Walker dancing around in his blue wig. People like Stefan Ortega swigging from beer as they were conducting their post-match interviews. Certainly this doesn't look like a group of players who are feeling any pressure at all at the prospect of doing what Manchester United did, of course, in 1999 and winning the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League as well.
Do you know what, Alex? A good point that. You know, I totally agree with you how relaxed they look and how
they're confident.
Inner confidence. You got to look at Pep to say, well done, Pep. You know,
well,
he's really...
He plans it, doesn't he? He knows it. It's an old cliche, one game at a time. They wasn't even thinking about, Inter Milan before the Manchester United FA Cup final. It's all about getting the job done. Then we look forward, and that's what he's done so well. Very experienced squad as well, Alex, isn't it? I mean, you look at some of the players, De Bruyne. He's a brilliant player to watch. John Stones has been a player that we heard from him earlier. He stepped into that midfield. He can play different roles now, and he's developed into an unbelievable player, isn't he?
He certainly has. For me, he's been one of City's standout performers this season. You have to give Pep Guardiola credit, because it wasn't that long ago, maybe even heading into the turn of the year, we were saying, well, is this City side quite what they once were? Maybe some people were suggesting that Erling Haaland, despite the volume of goals that he scored, had actually made them a worse team. But the way they've cranked up a gear since Christmas, they ran down Arsenal in the Premier League. They were never really in any danger of not winning that FA Cup, only conceded one goal. That was from the penalty spot in the final. In the end, they had too much for Manchester United. And I guess what's different about City this season, I made this point a few times on talkSPORT, there's no temptation from Pep Guardiola to tinker like he did in the final a couple of years ago when he left out Fernandinho, which really cost them dear against Chelsea. We pretty much know the Man City 11. Maybe there's a debate at left back. Does Nathan Ake come in? How fit is he? Or will it be Manuel Kanji again? Kyle Walker has told us on talkSPORT that he'll be available. Phil Foden probably will be amongst the subs, which shows how much strength and depth they have. But we know the 11 that Pep Guardiola is going to pick. And listen, man for man, Inter Milan have got a couple of exceptional players. The goalkeeper, Onana, I think will probably find himself a Premier League player in the not-too-distant future. I'm a big fan of Lautaro Martinez. But apart from that, man for man, City have got too much for Inter.
Yeah. Now, talking about transfers, as our chief transfer guru, we want to run through some of the potential deals doing the rounds at the moment. What about, talking of Italian sides, Napoli defender Kim Min-jae has been linked with a move to the Premier League. Can you tell us who, Alex?
Well, there's a couple of clubs out. Manchester United have been tracking him for some time. Newcastle, my understanding, are also showing quite a strong interest, although I think Manchester United at this stage would be favourites. He's got a release clause that kicks in on July the 1st. It's around about £42 million, which is not too excessive for a player of his talents. We are told overnight that maybe Napoli are trying to remove that release clause, get him to sign a new contract to drive the price up. But it does show that Erik ten Hag, as much as he wants a centre forward, he wants that number 9. We know he wants to strengthen in midfield. He's aware that defensively they need to add as well. We'll talk about Harry Maguire and his future in a minute. Rafa Varane's an exceptional player, but he just doesn't stay fit, does he, for a prolonged period of time?
Yeah, what about Harry then? Where could we see you? Do you think Harry's definitely on his way out?
Well, I wouldn't say definitely, Al, because I was told earlier this week that actually his intention is to stay at Manchester United and fight for his place. I've also been told by other sources that maybe he might fancy doing Chris Smalling and moving to Italy, going to really get away from the limelight in Serie A, and maybe the pace of the game over there might just suit Harry Maguire. But there is Premier League interest as well. I think the Tottenham talk is genuine. West Ham have shown interest in the past, maybe even Aston Villa. But as I say, at the moment, Maguire doesn't necessarily feel like his race is run at Manchester United. I guess if they do sign Kim or another centre-back and shove him further down the pecking order, and you have to remember they were picking Luke Shaw as a central defender rather than Maguire towards the end of the season, then maybe the penny might drop that I don't see him as a long-term part of Ten Hag's plans.
Okay, Alex, what about one more? What about Kovacic? We're hearing that perhaps a link to Manchester City, Chelsea midfielder?
Yeah, I think this is more than a link out. I think this will happen. Chelsea need to cut their cloth this summer. They've gone big in the last 2 windows. They want to invest again. They want to back Mauricio Pochettino. We know that's likely to lead to the departure of Mason Mount. And Kovacic is a player that Manchester City are very keen on to add to their armoury. Their already incredible armoury. He fancies the move as well. I would imagine that after this Champions League final live on talkSPORT on Saturday, that's one that might well ramp up.
Okay, Alex, brilliant. We look forward to have a great weekend. Thank you,
Thanks,
Alex Cook, live from Istanbul. City fans, we want to hear from you. Will this City side be the greatest Premier League team we've seen? If they complete this treble, give us a call, 03717 223344, or text us 81089.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.